Maggie, you have got to get out from under the dark clouds. First, you get robbed, and now you get fined $1,000. I'll tell you what happened. So, my friend, I think if you were to look at the register in Panama for criminal, petty criminal, I might be on that list. Oh my God. I have a piece of paper here where they said my crime was evasión de puesto de control migratorio. That means I was running away from the control point for migración. I was doing a run for it. Listen, if they tell you your sister here is testing the system, taking chances, skirting around with crime, you could say hell to the no, because this sister here is a wuss, okay? I would never, ever do anything that I knew was remotely wrong in this country that I love. Okay. Oh my God. Now, for my friends who always say I have a long intro, today you're going to be happy. There is no intro. I'm just going to get right into it and tell you what happened. How I came to just now, an hour ago, whip out my credit card that I'm supposed to save for when I go to the hospital, as I said in that last video, but I had to charge it a whole $1,000. I don't care how much money you have. Nobody wants to just give their money away, their hard earned money. Anyway, let me tell you what happened. You guys know I have the travel bug that I love to travel. In fact, Tuesday, I'm on another trip. So I'm sitting here in Panama saying, Costa Rica is right around, the border. I need to make a run for it. I need to go see what it's about, and you hear all about the biodiversity and all the foliage. I got to go see for myself. So I have a trip to the state next week. And I was like, well, I was trying to, because I have other trips that I'm planning for the year, Lord willing. I said, well, I can make a run for it and stay there for like 3, 4 days and then come back in time to pack and then go. So this friend said she wanted to come along. So I let her come along. And Costa Rica is on the western end of Panama. It's on the border, right? I remember it reminded me of the border from Haiti, from the Dominican Republic. It was like you open a gate and you're there. This time it was just a short little bridge and you're over. So I knew I didn't want to go to San Jose, which was the capital. After doing some research, people were saying there's not much there except like a farmer's market. And I'm like, no, I want to see the monkeys, I want to see the animals. So talking to a local friend, he said, I stay there. You will enjoy Puerto Viejo because this is the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. Well, whenever we go to Central South America, we want to find our people. So I wanted to go to Puerto Viejo because of that. In Puerto Viejo, when you look at the map, it's right outside of the border. So it's like, yeah, this is a good deal. And if you were to fly into San Jose and then decide to go to Puerto Viejo, I think there is a flight from San Jose to Limon, which is a community really around, it's about an hour and a half drive from Puerto Viejo. They say there is an airport there, but I wasn't thinking, I'm thinking small planes, and I don't do small planes. If it's not a Boeing, I don't fly it, okay? Oh my God. Heavy hearts. You just heard the crash that we had in near DC last night. I haven't even truly digested all the news, but all I know is horrible. There were young people on there, and nobody deserves to die like that. Anyway, so we decided to not fly into San Jose and then having to take a bus from San Jose to Puerto Viejo. And I think I read like it's 4 to 6 hours on the bus. It was like, yeah, we're not doing that. Let's just take the bus from Albrook, our terminal, to the border. And this friend said, okay, you could take the overnight bus from Albrook. It's about 12 hours, and then you get there in the morning. So I'm like, yeah, that's what we'll do. And when I booked a hotel in Puerto Viejo, I asked, knowing the bus time, and of course, most hotels check-in is like 3 or 4. I'm like, that's a long time. So I asked them if we could check in at 12, and they said, oh, yeah, we can accommodate you. That's fine. So we decided to take the night bus from Albrook to Shinganola. Shinganola is what I thought was right there at the border. So my friend got on the 8 p.m. bus and I got on the 8:30 p.m. bus. And the buses, the long-range buses, if you take them here in Panama, they make multiple stops. So you can use the restroom. Don't forget to bring your tissues, your wipes, and your hand sanitizer, and some coins because you may have to pay. And they make multiple stops. And at those stops, you can find real, food and coffee, pastries. So we decided to take the bus. So 8:30. By the time we got to Shinganola, which is the community where the bus, that's the end of it, it was maybe 11 hours. It wasn't close to 12 hours, even though we made multiple stops. So keep that in mind. Even though I thought it was like at 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., but no, it wasn't. So we got to Shinganola. Anyway, my friend was already there because her bus was earlier. Then I said, based on the instructions I was given by my friend, and I know he's going to be watching this video, I'm not blaming you for anything, okay? I look at everything as an adventure, except when it comes to giving my money. Okay, that was not part of the adventure. My God. So we get to Shinganola, and I'm like, I want to go to the border. Thank goodness my Spanish is up to par. And of course, they always have these young men lurking around. I said lurking, that's a strong word. They're just like, do you need help me carrying your bag? They're trying to get $1 here and there. And I was like, I only carry a backpack. So I'm like, I don't have any luggage for you to help me with. But I'm like, I need to get to the Puente. And it's like, oh no, it's not right there. You got to take a taxi and it's like a long distance over there. And I'm like, oh, that's not what I was told. So he helped us find a taxi, and you saw me putting the picture of the taxi, just like those, not SUVs, but pickup trucks, with the back seat. So when you get on there, they may have 1 or 2 people in the front seat, even though it's for one person. And in the back seat, usually for 3, but depending on how many kids you're piling up in there, everybody gets in. So it's never one person in there. And I understand it. It's like a little trap. And by the time the guy drove, it was about 20, 30 minutes to get to where the bridge is. This is the real border with Costa Rica. And when you get on that taxi, everybody pays $1.50. So it's not like Uber, you can have 10 people in there, it's the same price. $1.50 each, remember that. So I think this video is also going to help you figure out how to get to the border with Costa Rica. One thing I forgot to say, my introduction. I'm Maggie, your host, nurse practitioner, retired here in Panama, just had my second anniversary. Also the creator of SWRA, Single Women Retiring Abroad. That's all I'm going to say today because you know the drill. We are here, sassy, happy, traveling, paying fines. Well, we reinvent ourselves. So the taxi got us to the Puente, that where the immigration is. Now, maybe I misunderstood my friend, but what I heard was that once you get to the border, you cross the bridge, Then they stamp your passport and you on your way. That's what was in my thinking. Oh, so when they dropped us off, the taxi did, and they're like, I'm saying, migración, migración. They're like, oh yeah, go to the puente, just cross the bridge. I'm like, okay. So while we were going on the bridge, we turned to the right and we saw a migration over here on the right in a little bit of a distance. And I'm like, oh, and it says Migración Panama. And I'm like, oh. And then the friend said too, oh, this is where we stop when we come back so we can re-enter Panama. So we kept on going. There were two policemen, and the police here and on that bridge were very chilled. And they looked at us. We say, hola. They say, hola. And everybody was walking. We kept on walking. Nobody asked us for anything. And I'm like, wow, this is really weird. Anybody can go in and out. I mean, nobody asked for anything. They asked for ID. They didn't look inside our bags. And the locals from Costa Rica were just crossing. It was just back and forth, back and forth. So we got to the end of the bridge and we see Migración. So once we cross the bridge, we're on the Costa Rica side. Okay. It's just a bridge that divides the two. So there was a line. So we got in. When we got to the window, we gave our passport because we're looking for that stamp. The guy said, oh, where are you from? I'm like, well, you could see, we said we live in Panama, even though we have American passports. And then he said, the usual, where you going? Puerto Viejo. How many days? 4 days. Hotel? We told the hotel, just the regular stuff. Bim, 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 stamp. No question asked. And I'm like, they didn't even ask for any money. I'm like, wow, this is so easy. A little bit concerning because it was just too easy to enter the country, in my view. So by that time, it's like 9, 10 o'clock, and we're like, oh, we still can't check in yet. So let's just stick around, try to get something to eat, because then there was another bus we had to take. So when we left Shanginola, and got to the end in front of the bridge, that little community is Guabito, I think, right? Once we cross, we were into the little community where we were having breakfast was Skinaloa or something like that. And so we had some breakfast, and then again, we got a SIM card because there is a little place right there. You can buy a SIM card, even though the company that they said in my research to get is not the SIM card this guy sold us for $8. He gave us another company, and then we had issues while we were in Puerto Viejo. There were a couple of days we had no Wi-Fi access. Anyway. So do your research and use the brand that they recommend. I forgot what it is. So with a XO or K, something like that. Coli, something like that. Hey, I'm 66. My brain doesn't work that well. But anyway, so we got our SIM card. We got breakfast, just chilling around, just trying to get it to 12 o'clock. And then somebody showed us where to go buy the bus ticket and then get onto the bus. In Costa Rica, it's so confusing. I saw one person use a card, an older person. Everybody else came with their receipt. They have a place where they sell the ticket called boleteria. Remember, whenever you see ria, that means that's where they do something. Boleto means ticket. So boleteria, that means where you can get your ticket. So we got the ticket to go to Puerto Viejo. The ticket was $8. And I'm like, for a 1 hour ride, that's expensive. Didn't know I was going to have to pay $1,000. In the living room, I didn't turn the AC on, so bear with me. If I start looking a little shiny, I figure I'm getting a little warm. But anyway, So we got onto the bus and we got to Puerto Viejo. We're not going to go into that because I post some short videos and shorts about Puerto Viejo. Absolutely magical, beautiful resort town. I would not live there because it's like a vacation spot, right? But it is pretty to visit, and I strongly encourage it, the whole vibe. And the beach, the beach, the beach. What can I say? We have beaches here in Panama, but they've got some pretty beaches. Doesn't say bitches, right? Beaches. With my French accent, sometimes things come across a little bit weird. Like the other day, what was I saying again? Obesity anyway. So we had fun, So we come back. My friend decided to stay, do a different route, and I'm like, no, 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 because I need to get ready for my other trip. I said, we check out on Wednesday. I'm going to get to the border and then hop on the bus, and hopefully I can get home early evening. That was the plan. So took the same bus in reverse, got to the Puente, of course, no, I didn't stop at Migracion in Costa Rica because remember, in my mind, I'm thinking I need permission to enter the country, not to leave the country. So I thought. So I did not stop at Migracion because when I came, I saw Migracion Panama. So I made a beeline for that. Went over the bridge with my backpack and my bag. It's a little walk. So I get to meet, no, on the bridge this time, this policeman stopped me and he said, identification. So I gave him my passport. And then he said, oh, you live in Panama? I said, yes. So he said, do you have any ID from Panama? I put up my cedula and he's like, okay. And then he said, well, you're missing something. Where was your permission to leave Panama? And I'm like, what permission to leave Panama? I said, I didn't think I needed to stop to get permission to leave Panama. I thought I needed permission to enter Costa Rica. He said, no, 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 no. You need to have another step. But I still wasn't worried yet. I'm like, okay. And then he said, went on his phone, stepped away. He said, let me call my jefe, my boss. I'm like, oh, this is sounding not good. I didn't see any thing where he could put on my, what do you call those? I say shackles. This is where I'm like, I shouldn't have dyed my hair. I should have let the gray hair. Maybe he'll have mercy on me. So he talked to his jefe, and then he comes back. He said, "You're gonna have to go to the to Migration. I was gonna go there anyway and talk to the jefe and see how you're gonna be. They're gonna let you in without that stamp that you were supposed to have when you first came in." I'm like, "Oh my god!" So I walked to the Migration Panama, and then the guy was waiting for me. He's like, "Oh, come in." He waved me in. And then he said, you don't have permission to have left Panama to go to Costa Rica. And I'm like, why do I need permission to leave? Usually you want to know who's coming in, right? He said, yes, you need to have a stamp on your passport that says there is like an $8 impuesto, like a fee or tax that you should have paid before you get to Migración Costa Rica. I did not know that. So he said, why don't you go back to the Migración Costa Rica and ask them to annul, to void the stamp that they give you, then come back and then we'll stamp your passport like you're just coming in. And I'm like, what does that mean? That doesn't even sound right. So I dragged my little self with my backpack over the bridge again. By that time, like sweating, I'm hot. I'm getting a little bit annoyed. Not really angry, but I'm like, if I needed a stamp on the Panama side and I got to Costa Rica Migración and you don't see the stamp, wouldn't you have asked me, you missing something? Then I would have gone back But you stamp my passport and you say, Bienvenido a Costa Rica, and send me on my way. So I got there and I said to the guy, I went to Migracion Panama. They said your guy was not supposed to stamp my passport because I did not have the Panamanian stamp. Oh, he said, oh, wait a minute. Close the window. I don't know what kind of shenanigan they get in there because their guy messed up. So he comes back and he said, we can't void the stamp because it's in your passport and you were already in the country for 4 days. Then we can't do that. He said, just go pay the tax yourself, $9, 500 colones. And yeah, anyway, the the currency is called the colon, and it was 500 colon to $1 when we were there. So it's like $1. Is it $1? No, not $1. But anyway, so he said he's not going to do it. So I paid the tax. I think it was like $9. And then I go back to him so he can stamp my passport as an exit. But I'm still not out of the woods because I didn't have permission to leave over here. So I dragged my little self back to Migracion Panama. And he said, did they void the stamp? I said, no. He said he was not going to stamp. And even in talking to the Migracion Costa Rica, I said, the guy from the Panama side said, you need to void that. He's like, well, they don't have any right to tell us what to do. And I'm like, oh, I sense a little if going on between the two sides. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get in the middle of it. So it was like, okay, what do we do now? They said, well, if they won't void that stamp, that means you're in violation of the puesto de control. That means you skip the control post, immigration post on the Panama. You was like running off without permission. And he said, because of that, there is a fine of $1,000, 1,005. He said, $1,005. I felt the floor coming up to me, and I'm like, what? I mean, I can understand you could find somebody $100, $200, $1,000 just for not having a stamp. Panama, that's a bit much. You know, I love you, but I think $1,000 for an honest mistake of someone not knowing and the other side not fulfilling their duties, and then you charge me $1,000. That's not fair. That's not fair. Okay. But what am I to do? I'm like, that's a lot of money. And they said, if you don't pay that tax, it's going to show up at Tocumen when you're trying to leave and you're not going to be able to leave. And there was another gentleman who came in after me. I think I don't know if he had the same issue, but also there was a fee he wasn't paying. And they told him, they said, you won't be able to travel. They're going to stop you. And I have my flight booked for next Tuesday. I couldn't take that risk. So when they were going, back and forth over the bridge, the thought just crossed my mind. I could have just kept on walking for the taxi. Because they didn't take my Isadula. I'm still okay in Panama. It's going to the border because I'm sure my name would be showing on that most wanted or fugitive. I'm like, no, Maggie, don't do that. Don't tempt fate. So finally, the guy said, well, and then there was a young lady in there. She kept saying, madre, madre, calling me mother. I'm like, oh, she did see some of the gray hairs. And then she's like, well, we can make an appointment for you to go to Migracion in Panama City, and you can go plead your case and see if they'll remove the tax. I mean, I have to say, I was hopeful that they would. I prayed and I said, God, do what you can because I need that money. So I made it home, went on a taxi, took the bus back to Panama City, got in about midnight, took a Uber, no problem. So I knew I needed to go to Migracion this morning. And, having been there, it's a long day. And of course, I'm like, oh, I got to make sure I cover my hair, that I wear something to cover my shoulders. And, you could wear pants, but you got to look presentable. So I looked okay. I remember that because if I had gotten there with the tank top, they wouldn't have let me in. Remember that if you go into Migracion, your attorney is going to tell you the dress code, but just remember, because I was going on my own, I didn't have an attorney with me today. So I go in there by about 9:30. Because they give me that paper to take, they called and made the appointment for me. Well, that didn't mean anything because I ended up sitting there for almost 4 hours. The little number they gave me, they never called it. Why is it that you give me a number and you never call me? Last time I was there, same thing happened. Somebody came and rescued me. I don't understand. But anyway, these are the things about Panama you have to get used to. And it's like, that's the way it is. Okay. So I sat there with my little number. I had my passport with me. The letter says I have an infraction. Evasión de puesto de control migratorio. That means I'm evading. Like I said, I'm running away. I'm a fugitive of the point of control for immigration. Oh my God. So after sitting there for almost 4 hours, I was going to ask this young lady, and it's like, can you help me? Can you tell me who's going to see me? Because my number was never called. I stood there in front of her at the caja, which is the window. She never lifted her head to even acknowledge I was standing there. Finally, I just took my little tail between my legs and just got and sat down. Today was not a good Panama day. So I saw another lady pass by and I'm like, excuse me, senora, can you help me? So she got me in front of another. She's like, oh, come here. And when I got there, that girl was not happy either. And I'm like, well, I don't think God's going to work that miracle with this one, with her face. So none of those faces were sympathetic. So the lady came behind the window and I told her, they read that. And I'm like, I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, you're going to have to pay. And I said, well, I was hoping you would get rid of the impuesto, the tax, the penalty. She's like, oh, no, you're going to have to pay. I have to tell you, I shed a couple of tears. And then I wipe my eyes and I'm like, it's only money. It's only money. My relationship with money is like that. I don't hang on to money too tightly because I know it can come and it can go. And I don't ever get to a point where money controls me or my emotions. I felt it was unfair, but this is the way of the land. This is the country. This is their rule. Therefore, I had nothing to say. I could be sad. I can't be angry because I was a victim of circumstances. I did not know the rules. So if you are thinking of going to Costa Rica, remember you need a stamp on the Panama side and you have to pay $8. Then you cross the bridge. When you get to the Migracion Costa Rica, you get another stamp. They don't charge you going, but coming back, you stop at Costa Rica Migracion, you pay the $9 tax. And then when you go back to Migracion Panama, maybe they don't charge you. They didn't charge me this time. I don't think they charge you again. You only pay once. But once you get to Costa Rica, it's that place where we were. It was like it should have been a preserved rainforest. The foliage, everything was so thick. I mean, we were standing there. We went to the beach and we were standing waiting on the bus, and you could see the monkeys in the trees. I mean, it's beautiful to look at from a distance. But for me, all these homes I saw back in the woods, me. This lady said that she heard something whistling inside her little garage. There was a boa constrictor in there. I'm like, oh hell to the no. No. While we were standing waiting on the bus again, I saw some beautiful turkeys, just free range. I'm like, this is what we call free range. And I was like, oh my God, you would look good on my in my oven on my plate. But I couldn't kill it. I can't kill anything. So the moral of the story is, did you like, share, and subscribe? You know, I was trying to be good, not give you a good intro, tell you the story. So you need to subscribe, okay? You need to like and share and subscribe. So she gave me my little receipt. She said, you go pay and then come back. So whipped up my little card. She didn't charge me the $5. It was I guess that's my deduction. That's my jubilado discount. She charged me $1,000. And then she said, you need to take this to the airport. So because I told her, I said, I don't want to have any problem after I give you my money, knowing how things might work here, that I get to the airport and then you say, oh, it says you have an impuesto, you have a charge or whatever. So she said, show them this. And I'm like, thank you. So hopefully my name would get off that naughty list. $1,000 just for not getting a stamp on your passport. Panama, you have got to do better. This is not good. You know, I love you, but this is not good. It's too much. I know we have budget issues, but don't squeeze the people who love you so much. I don't think it's the fee doesn't match the crime. That's what I'm saying. Okay? I don't think you need to charge someone $1,000 for not getting a stamp. But anyway. So the other thing too, I wanted to say a few last words is that as I was praying to God that maybe I would find somebody sympathetic to my cause, but I understand that rules are not to be broken. Maybe a supervisor might have said, "Oh, well, you know, she's old. Maybe we'll cut it in half." No such luck. No such luck. But at the same time, he brought to mind that sometimes we pray for things that don't happen. And it reminded me of the people that I see get a bad diagnosis, right? And they're like, oh, we're praying for a miracle. The other day, there was a guy, I won't mention his name. He's very well known on the YouTube scene and he developed the disease. And people in Africa were saying, oh, maybe they put a juju on him. You know, I can't stand people trying to justify somebody's misery that it's God's, you know, chastising them or judging them and put, who are you? You don't know. Don't, stuff like that coming out of your mouth. They have a way of judging you back. So be careful. You don't rejoice in somebody's demise, in somebody's difficulties, right? What I want to say though is that sometimes everything could be right with you, with your heart, with you and God, and you pray for some things, you don't get it. That should not affect your faith, right? Because of the human element. We are victims of whatever happens to everybody else. We do say, why me? But we never get the answer, do we? Finally, somebody would say, well, I said, why not me? Because look at somebody else. They have the worst end of the stick. Those families grieving their young people who just were in that plane crash. How do you explain that? And then someone said to me, oh, the earthquake came, but God was protecting me. And I'm like, what about the one who died in the earthquake? God was not protecting. See, you got to be careful with your thinking and your expectation of God. The law of nature happens. We get sick, we get ill, we die. Got nothing to do with God or your faith. We all go through the same thing. Okay? All right. I don't want a long video, but I thought I would give you, even though I did not teach you anything, but I could share this word, right? So that I tell God, I ask you for it, but if you don't give it to me, I'm still going to trust you. That a decision I make while I'm asking, so that when I don't get it, I'm not so disappointed and I don't put God in a corner as being a bad daddy or no. All right. So your sis is $1,000 poorer, but I'm at peace It is just part of the journey. It's not that I'm stupid. I just did not know. And I'm just going to go on and I'm going to keep traveling. Whatever will be, will be. So I hope you enjoy hearing my shenanigans once again. I wasn't robbed this time. Well, I don't know. $1,000 not gonna break me. I'm not gonna eat bread and Kool-Aid, but I'm okay. I'm okay. So God loves you. You know I love you. Au revoir. À la prochaine. Bye.